he's talking about there's more footage. There's 140 hours that he has, and each episode was only maybe an hour, I think. There was 4 episodes, so there's at least 130 something more hours that he hasn't edited or produced.
For some reason, Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and fucking hell, it's something. But
was there anything that surprised you from that footage?
The footage, well, I mean, I think it's rare to find someone who's being, talked about all over the country. All eyes were on him, so to speak. And it was really interesting to see his last days of freedom, and what was sort of important to him. Obviously, there's phone calls with his attorneys, with his team. It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. He has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account in how he was coming off to the public, in the days leading up to his arrest and indictment.
When Netflix released The Reckoning centered on Sean Combs, the reaction was immediate and uneasy. The allegations were serious, the tone was dark, and the timeline already felt disturbing. But even with all of that, something felt off. Not facts, not accusations, but the raw, uncomfortable moments that make a story feel fully exposed. Instead, the documentary felt controlled, shaped, almost edited in a way that suggested we were seeing something real, but not everything. And that's where the whispers began. Because once word spread that the production may have had access to far more footage than what made it into the final cut, the conversation shifted. This wasn't just about what was shown anymore. It became about what was missing. Especially when reports suggested some footage was captured right before Diddy's 2024 arrest, when pressure was peaking and his image was collapsing in real time. At 50 Cent, a longtime rival who knows exactly how to turn controversy into attention, and Gene Deal, an insider insisting the public has only seen a fraction. And suddenly one question takes over everything. What exactly was left out, and why?
Reason, Diddy, around the time of his arrest, thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be exonerated later, so I'm going to film all this, and then I can use it in my big comeback later when I'm not in jail. Didn't work out the way he thought, and it turns out he went to jail for a few years. All right, he didn't get the full amount, but he still got a few years. And 50 Cent somehow managed to pay for the footage off of the videographer. Probably Diddy's worst nightmare, this. It's got to be up there. Now, we're going to get into what's in the actual documentary, and fucking hell, it's something. But let's quickly take a look at 50 Cent's press tour, where he looks like a kid at Christmas right now. I've never seen a man this happy when it wasn't on, like, the day his kid was born.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figured most journalists would not disclose their sources.
50 Cent's a journalist now, is he? He's ruthless.
Does he know y'all have this in the doc?
I would doubt he knows.
Oh, God, he's bad to the bone, isn't he? What 50 Cent is doing right now is basically a lesson to us all, right? Maybe we're just not hating enough on the people who are shit to us. And the documentary starts out with Diddy panicking about his public reputation just days before he was due to get arrested. On the phone to his lawyer, trying to come up with strategy.
We need the core theme to be, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong on any front.
By the way, these conversations, the lawyer had no idea he was recording them. So when the lawyer's like, yeah, we need everyone to believe you did nothing wrong, it kind of takes away from when the lawyer is out in public saying, yeah, my client is completely innocent. And now he's showing the behind the scenes where he clearly didn't think he was very innocent. So not Diddy's smartest move. However, throughout this journey, you'll see he makes a lot of crazy decisions.
I don't think it's working. I listened. I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just running around waiting for a shoe to drop.
He's shitting himself right now, in case you can't tell, and he really doesn't look good.
It's the middle of September, and there's still no indictment.
Bro, then you have to have a spokesman. You have to have some sort of comms to constantly be pushing that, Mark. Because you may just be a person that you just may watch CNN. You know what I'm saying? And there's 9 billion people in the world, and 7 billion of them is on Instagram and TikTok.
He's basically trying to get control of the narrative. That's what he's really worried about. He wants public perception to be, this was all bullshit. Unfortunately for him, we'd all seen the CCTV of him beating the shit out of Cassie, so we know you're not a good guy, man. That's out there. A statement from your solicitor is really not going to change that.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us, whether they're from this country or from another country. It could be somebody that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business of media and propaganda.
We need to brainwash some motherfuckers right now, and we need people who are used to working with the dirtiest of dirty, because that's what he is, and he's admitting it. How could you let this footage fall into the hands of 50 Cent, my guy? And honestly, it always comes down to money with Diddy, because Diddy didn't get rich just because he was, clever in music. Diddy got rich because he robbed people all the time. And him not taking care of the people around him, it just comes back to bite him a million times over.
It's like we have a movie, you're speaking this language, and you know what I'm saying, we need subtitles. And we're not providing the audience with subtitles. And I invited you to this movie, and you in this thing, you don't know what's going on. You just see, you just see the images, quickly. Now it has a whole life of its own.
I gotta say, this whole doc was edited well. When he said you just see the pictures and they cut to the CCTV. Well done, 50. You nailed that, son. If you're going to take him down in style. So you get a clear window from the jump here into Diddy's psyche. He doesn't give a fuck about Cassie or any of these girls. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone. It's save yourself mentality, and it's crisis mode. And you can see on his face, he's got a drug problem. This is at an all-time high of his drug taking, surely. Because he is stressed a fuck.
The footage people keep talking about focuses on Diddy's final days before his September 2024 arrest, and that detail changes everything. This wasn't casual recording. This wasn't normal content. According to descriptions, he wasn't moving like someone unaware. He was moving like someone trying to stay ahead of the storm. One of the most talked about moments allegedly shows him in a hotel room, speaking to his attorney on speakerphone. His tone is calm, but the message underneath feels different. There are references to losing, to controlling the narrative, to making sure the public believes he did nothing wrong. And that's where it shifts from legal defense to reputation management. Because this wasn't after the fall. This was before it, before the arrest, before the courtroom. A moment where control still felt possible, but was clearly slipping. And once you understand that, it becomes harder to believe the documentary told the full story.
50, how'd you get it, and what does that scene show?
Well, I mean, you're a journalist, Harvey. Harvey, you would not disclose your sources.
We usually don't.
Yeah, but I got it. Yeah.
What he said.
and what do you think it conveys? Because we see someone trying to pull the strings and talking about, he would say affecting, others would say manipulating the public views of the allegations.
I think that, one big theme of the series is to go behind the scenes to really understand how brilliant you could say Sean Combs is at marketing, at owning his narrative, controlling the narrative at all times. And so why would that stop, when his life is on the line? So I think that, on its face, that's what it is. But as you get deeper in the film, you start to realize, perhaps how some of these tactics, how they really came to present themselves, during the trial.
You show that, his abilities, his early rise. Right. Alexandra, you also give time to victims of the alleged abuse. Some of the cases are in different procedural postures. And you show victims who were women and men. Why is that important?
Because, victims of sexual assault, sexual violence, that should... gender should not be a part of that conversation. When you are a victim, you are a victim. And I think that, this series was a platform in a way for these alleged victims.
One of the biggest questions is how this footage ever left Diddy's control in the first place. Reports suggest he had been filming himself extensively, possibly to shape his own narrative, protect his image, maybe even build a comeback story. But that kind of plan only works if the people around you stay loyal. And that's where things may have broken down. Payments stalled, trust faded, agreements collapsed. And once that happened, the footage stopped being protection and became leverage. That shift changes everything, because now material that was meant to defend him could be used against him. And that's where 50 Cent's name starts entering the conversation. He hasn't confirmed everything, but he hasn't denied it either. Instead, he's hinted, joked, implied, letting the mystery grow. And in doing that, he's turned unseen footage into pressure without even releasing it.
And that's what it was about. So that's why you don't see a cameo other than the pictures they used of me on the film in the documentary. I got like 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I've seen of myself. You know, some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places and you could actually see me in the documentary, and that's the only thing you're gonna get. But the stories that they told in the documentary, bro, come on. They could have went a whole lot deeper. They could have did a whole lot more. So I ain't in the documentary because that lady that was the director, I think, what's her name? Alex, you know, Alex Staple. You know her name, Mighty? Yo, Mighty, just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look this up, all right? Okay. Her name is Alex Stapleton. The director that I spoke to was Alex Stapleton. She was the one who told me that she was the director, she was the producer, whatever, this, that, and the third, the whole 9 yards. And she was talking mad greasy to me. And listen here, it's no matter, after you talk that kind of talk to me, it's no amount of money she could have paid me anyway for me to get in there. You know, my story is more too valuable, you know, getting into depth or getting in depth with this whole stuff. And it would have helped that documentary a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? In actually, they used all the stuff that I told them and did it the way that I was saying do it. Tim Dog started off with the childhood with Puff and the whole 9 yards. Kirk Burrows do the business part, but they was trying to put people in there like Mark Curry and other people to talk about the streets or what was going on, you know, a certain thing. But Mark can only say so much. You know what I'm saying? Because he was an artist, you know, so he wasn't with Puff like I was with him during that time when we was running back and forth here and there and the whole 9 yards. So, you know, Miss Alex Stapleton is the one reason why I'm not in the documentary, but it's all right with me. I've been in a lot of documentaries. I did The Shine, I did the A&E, I did the Discovery Channel, I did the Fox. You know, I've been in a whole lot of different documentaries, and I'm always on the Art of Dialogue. So the people been getting most of the information from here anyway.
Yeah, man, you always on here, man. Always got to bring you on. So with that being said, man, I want to get right into the documentary, man. How you feel about the documentary, man? The behind the scenes footage they got of Diddy leading up to him getting arrested, and how you feel about all that, man?
Well, what I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was going to do something and they're going to say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big. It wasn't only Tupac. You understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in, you got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do their investigations right.
Then there's Gene Deal, someone who isn't speaking like an outsider, but like someone who already knows how this world works. According to him, cameras around Diddy weren't unusual. Recording was routine. Meetings, private moments, conversations documented. Not for memory, but for control. And if that's true, then the existence of more footage isn't surprising. What's surprising is that it may no longer be in the hands of the person who thought it would protect him. Gene doesn't seem shocked by that possibility. If anything, he suggests it was inevitable once trust broke down. He even hints that the documentary itself may have been a safer version of the story, leaving out key names, deeper connections, and darker context, meaning what we saw might not be the full reckoning, just the version that could be released.
Everybody want to say that 50 Cent did the whole documentary. He was responsible for doing the whole documentary, what goes in there and what goes out of there. Now, I don't believe that. And I don't believe that he's responsible for everything that goes in there. I don't believe he's responsible for everything that goes out of there. Guys want to say that he's snitching, you know what I'm saying, because he's telling his truth about what went down and what he saw or what he heard or whatever like that. I don't know how to love my enemy. And if I gotta put out the truth about something that he was doing and is wrong, and that was wrong, I don't have no problem with that, 50. Not a problem at all. Keep doing it. Maybe enough men come out and speak out on some bull stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're saying that Diddy's family is preparing $1 billion lawsuit over this documentary.
I think they dropped it already. I don't think they ain't gonna have a chance, because before you put something out like that, they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's. They're gonna make sure everything is in place. And if Puff had friends over there at Netflix, if it haven't came down, what it showed? Yeah, if it haven't came down yet, they ain't got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, you just made me think of something. I'm sure Netflix has 1 million lawyers, and I'm sure they had plenty of lawyers go over this thing to make sure it was airtight.
Yes, sir.
And they might probably even cut some stuff out that maybe they weren't even sure about. Just probably, man. Well, Gene, I appreciate you taking the time. Dope content as always. And I wish you luck, man. I know, man, you get on these interviews and they go crazy, man.
Yeah, man, listen. A lot of people want to, come at me, and everybody want to find fault in 50, find fault in me, find fault in anybody who's speaking out against the evil shit that's been going on. But what about find fault from the person who did it?
What gives Gene Deal's argument weight is that he doesn't speak like this story is finished. He speaks like it's been managed, carefully selected, and still incomplete. According to him, the cameras were always part of the system, part protection, part leverage, part proof of power. And once you accept that, the idea of unreleased footage stops sounding like speculation and starts feeling inevitable. Because now, the issue isn't just what was shown, it's a belief that much more exists. And once the public starts believing that, silence feels suspicious. Statements feel strategic. And what's missing becomes just as powerful as what was revealed.
Maul was telling me on his way here, I didn't see this, but apparently there's another 100 hours of Diddy footage on the cutting room floor?
So Diddy is still doing press. I mean, Diddy. 50.
Diddy is not doing press.
No,
he's doing press on the yard.
He's doing press, like he's doing push-ups. No, 50 is still doing press, and obviously with the success of the Reckoning documentary, he's talking about there's more footage. There's 140 hours that he has, and each episode was only maybe an hour, I think. There was 4 episodes, so there's at least 130 something more hours that he hasn't edited or produced. And he's saying that he may put it out on YouTube, just to put it out there,
like on his 50 Cent Devo page.
I don't know if it'll be on his page, but he just said, he doesn't know if he's going to release it with Netflix or through Netflix. He might just, put it out on YouTube or wherever, some other platform. But the one thing that he said that was interesting is, he said, because you see people out here trying to, say, oh, the documentary can paint a narrative, this, that, and the third. And his words were, if you see the rest of this footage, there will be no more, kind of like, oh, you can paint this narrative. It's pretty clear cut. The things that are being said in the documentary, the things that he still can't believe Puff, because he says that a lot. Like, he can't believe Puff actually recorded all of this.
Yeah.
But the real danger of unreleased footage goes beyond one person. It points to something bigger, a culture where powerful figures document everything, not just for memory, but for leverage. Because in those environments, cameras don't just record moments, they control them. And if even a fraction of this unseen material includes private conversations, emotional pressure, and real-time attempts to control a collapsing image, then it's no longer just evidence. It becomes a window into how power actually behaves when it's under threat. Not in interviews, not in statements, but in raw, unfiltered moments where control starts slipping away.
Two-part question I want to ask you. How you feel about the documentary on Diddy? And you and 50, what's going on between both y'all? Me personally, the documentary was incredible, man. Shout out to 50, man. But I know you and 50, y'all got something going on, right?
Indeed. So originally, when I heard about the reckoning of Sean Diddy Combs' documentary that was produced by 50 Cent, I wasn't going to watch it. And I wasn't going to watch it because, quite frankly, I had grown a little tired of the Diddy case. I had followed it. I had studied it. I had researched it. And at this point, the man was sentenced to 50 months in jail, I believe the time was that the feds gave him. There really wasn't much left to talk about. Everything had already been put out there, all the hours of testimony, hundreds of hours of court proceedings. It was nothing else to talk about as far as I was concerned. And then people kept texting me. They said, Dr. Umar, you got to see this. You got to see this. You got to see this. So one night I can't go to sleep. And I decided to go ahead and watch it. And I watched all the episodes. I will say that it appeared to be very well researched from the point of view that 50 Cent wanted to portray. I don't think it was balanced in that you didn't hear anything positive at all about the man, when in fact, despite the horrendous deeds, which cannot be excused at all.
In the end, 50 Cent and Gene Deal didn't just raise questions about footage. They challenged something deeper. The idea that power can always keep things hidden. Netflix may have shown part of the story, but not all of it. And people can feel that. Because once the audience believes there's more, everything changes. What's visible stops feeling complete. And what's missing becomes the real story. Which leaves one final question hanging in the air. Not whether more footage exists, but if it ever surfaces, will it confirm what people already suspect, or reveal something far bigger than anyone is prepared for?